It's not a situation that we're particularly used to, even if you have described it in some of your lyrics before. So,
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Must be looking at the world going, I told you.
Yeah, kind of, but also like, yeah, this was not expected, but maybe the reaction was,
Yeah.
Like nobody could have expected this. Well, maybe some people could. I certainly didn't, but how are we dealing with it? It's kind of, it's obvious if you think about it, because all of a sudden, like everything is brought to it's like brought to an extreme. Like all of a sudden, like everything a lot of the things that we take for granted are gone. And not everybody's kind of equipped to handle that, in a reasonable way. And I think that's it looks bad. Like I mean, Sweden obviously is very like it's treating this kind of differently than a lot of other countries.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty bad. Like, how is it where you are?
Shit. But then we've got Boris Johnson in charge, so that says it all.
Yeah, I guess it does. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I hear. Like I've been talking to a lot of people in the UK, and and everybody has a different story, and it's never good.
But more important than COVID, moments.
Yeah, music gets us trying to get us through this.
Yeah, COVID-19. That was last year. This is 20. Moment 20.
Yes.
Like that. Good. Yeah. Well, obviously, so far there's been 2 singles released: Phantom Days and Identical to None, both of which are fantastic. I must say, they're really, really energized, and they're catchy, but it's extreme. And basically, the more I talk about it, the more I'm just going to have my nose up your ass. So I'll just stop.
But it's cool. Like it feels like we were off to a good start. People have been good reactions to the first 2 songs, and on this Friday, we have first proper video coming out for a song called The Dark Unbroken, which is very different, I think, from the 2 first. So I'm curious to see how that's going to be received.
Because that's good though. That's a great thing about Dark Tranquillity, is it's always been a band of contrast and variety and things like that. So it's always exciting when a Dark Tranquillity album comes out, because you're never too sure what you're going to get. You have an idea, but there's always going to be different things. And especially, like I say, there's plenty of variety on one album, let alone throughout the career. Yeah. So with every video, it's like, I have to, or video or song or whatever. It's like, I have to check this out because I don't know what I'm going to get. It's like Christmas.
It's good, yeah. And hopefully this is going to, and I know this is a very different song. So we'll see. And I'm super curious. And again, it kind of shows off like the different side of the album, whereas maybe Identical to None is very maybe it's what is expected of us. I would say, whereas this is definitely not. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm curious.
And you mentioned this is the first full-on video. So is this
exactly.
kind of like a performance aspect, or is there
like a little bit of both? It's very much like we decided to kind of use this time to do something at home, very much Gothenburg centric. So we shot it all over the town. It's very empty. No one's around. And normally like in the the mornings, like the city's kind of empty. Everybody works from home. No one travels anywhere, which is perfect for a metal video, but it's still kind of scary and weird and different, But we kind of took advantage of the situation a little bit, and used that in the video. So it's very it's very cold and kind of barren, but it kind of introduces everybody, and also there's part of like a performance thing. And we actually shot it here in a beautiful theater called Storan, which is like a proper theater. Mm-hmm. Where you would never have a death metal concert. And they would never let us in, basically. But now, since everything is empty and vacant, we can just ask, like, can we shoot a video here? And it looks fantastic. And actually, we're going to record a proper concert there in a couple of weeks to do like a live stream show day after the album comes out on the 21st of November. So there's going to be, we're going to play the entire album. And it's going to be there, like full production, as if this is the first night of a tour, because that's normally what we do. We release an album and the same day we start in New York City or something like that.
Yeah.
And now since we can't do that, we're gonna take the tram to this venue in the dead city center of Gothenburg and just play the entire album there and stream it. So it's going to be super cool. Like, I cannot wait. We're going to be on stage together and play music, at least, even though we won't see anyone. Hopefully people are going to watch from their sofas and on their computers and all that. So it's going to be cool. Like the streaming thing is a weird thing, but and I've seen them all. I've seen all my favorite bands do it, and I want it to be special and different and all that. And I think that's what we're aiming for. So we'll see what happens, but we have a good plan and it's going to be cool.
Good. And is that a pay-per-view stream or?
Yeah. We're going to do it like it's going to be super expensive. So we must get.
That's true. Yeah.
And also we want to pay our crew because we're going to meet them for the first time in a year, and they're all from Portugal, and they managed to actually fly over here and do the show. So it's going to be amazing. I cannot wait. Just. Proper thing again. I've been missing it so much. Yeah,
man. I'm looking forward to that then, because so far the only live stream show I watched was Ahmed Sane, which was really, really good.
All right, cool.
So it's obviously it's not quite the same, but
no,
there does seem to be a way that it works. And we buy live DVDs, or we should buy live DVDs and watch that at home. So why not?
Yeah. That's what I do all the time. And some of the streams, like, it's one thing if you kind of try to mimic a proper show, like you're standing like in front of an imaginary audience. That's just weird. But if bands kind of do it as kind of like a TV show thing or something like that, I've seen like Enslaved have done 3 or 4, and they're amazing because it's just focused on the music and kind of like the mood, and it's fucking beautiful and it's super awesome. And I've seen a couple of shows like that, and I really like that. So that's kind of something that we're aiming for, to do it differently, but also kind of play on the fact that it is empty and we're in this huge hall and no one is there.
It's weird. It's a little bit like Clockwork Orange in the beginning when they go into the theater and it's mostly abandoned.
Yeah.
Attack.
So, I may need to rethink my wardrobe for the show then.
Speaking of orange, the artwork for the album it looks orange to me, but it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I love it, and
yeah. So once again, this is done by Nicholas.
Yep.
A little bit strange that he's once again done the album, but he's not playing on the album. I think this is the first Dark Tranquillity album he's not on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he decided like before the recording of Atoma, like he had a kid and he realized like his priorities changed a lot, and he wanted to be a family guy and not, be a tour guy and locked in the studio forever, that kind of thing. And it just became obvious that, his priorities have changed. And I totally get that, and it's like fully supported. And we figured like maybe there's a way we can still get this to work. And he recorded like that entire album at home. And we were in the studio, and that kind of like remotely recording something is, it works fine. Technology is awesome, but it's still kind of frustrating. But then he didn't, he couldn't go on tour. So we found new players, and then he felt like, I want to focus on the artwork. I want to focus on videos. I want to focus on that, and also his own music. So it only makes sense for him to kind of back down and just focus on that. So the cool thing that I love is that we still have the same relationship with everything, just except for the music and the guitar playing, and that's it. Everything else is the same. We talk every day about art and videos and T-shirts and all kinds of designs. And it's just and it works great for him. He lives in America now, and he's it's great the way it's turned out. So I really like that, and also the way that cover came out was fantastic. And I cannot wait to hold the actual vinyl version of it in my hands. I haven't seen it yet. We're going to go to the pressing plant tomorrow and see it. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Do you get to take it home early, or do you have to wait like everybody else?
I probably get to take it home early.
Good. How well does the artwork represent the music inside?
I think I mean, Nicholas, of course, was a founder of the band together with me, and we've known each other since we were 6. so he gets it, so I can send him lyrics and the idea for the title, and he just goes like, I have an idea, I think I know what you mean, and then it will show me some images and sketches, and I go like, you got it, this is awesome. And then we could talk about it continuously till we're happy with it. But he really gets it, of course, and he understands like where we're going nowadays with music, and he also knows the kind of stuff that I like. But of course, sometimes I have to kind of push him in a certain direction. I go like, yeah, we need a different time schedule. It's like, you should play these video games, or you should watch these album covers, or like watch that TV show, like think about in those terms, stuff that he misses sometimes. But other than that, I think like he just totally gets it, and that's the best part.
Mm. Oh, it's obviously, like you say, where he understands music, he knows what to do. So
yeah, for sure.
So and the Atoma artwork, that was probably my favorite artwork of 2016. That was beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's good to know he's still doing it. And
yeah, for sure. I mean, and he just gets better. And I think what I love about his technique nowadays, like what he did this time, was that it's basically, instead of the classic Photoshop thing of using thousands of different layers and all kinds of like mixed media stuff, this is just one layer and just like pencil art, basically.
Yeah.
Digital, but still very much handmade. And it makes such a huge difference in the way that it feels and how it's kind of constructed. And I really love that. And I think it makes it more, like tactile in a way. Like you can feel it, how it's like it's actually drawn. It's not just a composition of different images. Something else.
Yeah. Cool. Obviously, with his departure comes not one but two new guitarists.
Yep.
And given the positive reception to the two singles so far, and no doubt the third one on Friday, they're fitting in very well. How long had you known the two new guys? And I mean, I would imagine you've known Chris for quite a while, at least.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, we did a couple of shows in the early 2000s, I think. It was the first time with Arch Enemy, and that was the first time we met, and I've probably met before that. But yeah, so we've known him for a long time. And he lived in America, in New York for a long time. So we met him when we were there, and we asked him like, hey, do you want to like do a couple of shows in the summer? Because we're like in between guitar players. We have a few that can only like do a few shows, and we're kind of looking for someone. And he was like, yeah, I want to go to Europe and play music. And, he knows us, so it was all good. That was easy. And Johan was a suggestion by Nicholas. He said like, if you need, if I can't tour, like you should talk to Johan because he's fantastic. I've done some cover art for his projects and some of his bands, and, he can do anything. And true enough, like we asked him, he came up. He lives down in Malmö, which is just 3 hours away. And he nailed everything. Knew all the songs by heart, and it was like, all right. And so did Chris, and it was just like, okay, this is so easy. Because I guess being a band for such a long time, we were kind of hesitant, like bringing new people in, that means like we have to teach them everything and kind of start from scratch. But no, we didn't have to do that at all. Like they knew everything, so it was so easy, and it felt fantastic on stage immediately. I think we did a couple of short tours where we just felt like this is it, like this is how it's supposed to be. And so it just made perfect sense, and we kind of took it on like tour by tour, festival season by festival season kind of thing. And then early last year, when we decided to kind of not book any more tours and just focus on writing, we just asked them like, do you want to be part of this? Like, let's do it. And they were very enthusiastic about it. And so we just started,
Yeah. Was obviously, let's say them and they knew the songs perfectly, so there was no problem there. Was there any apprehension about public perception in bringing in two new guitarists? Because I think whenever there's a lineup change, if it's one member, fans are normally kind of like, oh, that's interesting. But when it's two, sometimes people start to worry a little bit.
Yeah, because
it's breaking apart. But
yeah, for sure. Like, first, like Martin quit. What was that? Like 15, and that was weird, of course. And then we had a few. Friends who kind of filled in during festivals and stuff.
Yeah.
And then after Atoma, we had two guys who came on the first tour, and they were great. But it's just like you didn't have that connection. Mm-hmm. But of course, but it was a matter like we needed to do it. Like it was just a matter of time. We needed someone, and and it just felt good to. And I think it wasn't like we were looking for someone that people already know, like Chris and Johan, but that's how it kind of turned out, you know.
Yeah.
And we also talked to a lot of other people as well that we were like, it would be fucking fantastic if that guy joined, you know, such a great guy and fucking fantastic player, but he's in America or he's in England or he's in Holland, whatever. And it's so much easier if, you know, if you're around here, you know. And now Chris has actually moved here to Sweden, which is awesome. So I think it's important to have like that chemistry, knowing that, you know, we kind of come from the same kind of background musically, and we kind of grew up with the same kind of death metal stuff and all that. And of course, like, and of course, like every time someone asks me something, it's about the new guys, because it's important, and it has, of course, changed a lot for who we are as a band. But I think we were very conscious of this when we were writing, and we were very careful not to change too much and kind of really hold on to what makes our music very much Dark Tranquillity, you know, and not let them, because I don't know, like the fear was that if we let Chris and Johan run free, it's going to be a shred fest like no other, you know, because they're amazing at that, but it, you know, it wouldn't really fit with a Dark Tranquillity album. So it was a matter of finding that balance between what we want to do and what they can do, you know, and how can they kind of add to what we already had in mind, but also, you know, contribute, you know, in the best possible ways.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the lyrics on Moment. There does seem to be some very interesting topics covered. I mean, I like Identical to None just because, I mean, to me, it seems like a straightforward anti-discrimination song, which is never a bad thing. But,
no, I think it's a good thing, and I guess maybe it didn't start out that way, but it's about just uniqueness and celebrating diversity and being different, and mostly it's about like, how can you not see it? How can we fail to recognize these things? Like, what is wrong with us as people? You know, where that is not just something that is just there. Like, and it is just that's what it is. Like, why do we put so much emphasis on it? Why do we care so much about that kind of stuff? It's meaningless when it comes down to it. That makes no difference whatsoever, and yet it's the topic that we talk about endlessly, and that kind of thing. And there's, I mean, one of the things that I keep coming back to is like, how come we haven't moved past like simple things like that? For instance, how come we're not adults yet? You know, it seems like we're stuck in some kind of like middle school mentality sometimes when it comes to certain topics. You know, just because it's too scary, or you're kind of stuck in a way of thinking that just isn't up with the times. You know, and that just seems crazy. And I try to somehow, I don't know, like try to make sense of it, at least to me, try to figure out where that comes from. Why are we like this? Like, how did we end up like that? What is it in our past, in our experience, and in our kind of upbringing that makes you do these things? Like, that makes you think the way that you think, maybe makes you not see the things that maybe you should see, that kind of thing. And again, like, if we're talking about the first two songs, and then like Phantom Days is about, you know, unexpected loss, you know, how things that you take very much for granted all of a sudden is gone, and how it's easy to kind of fool yourself into thinking that something is still there, you know. It's like, you know, when your girlfriend or whatever is away, or you're alone and you still see her face everywhere, you know, that kind of thing. Or you lose something and you think about it constantly anyway, and you know that it's still there somehow, you know, it's going to happen. You hold on to something so much that you cannot even grasp the fact that it's not there. And that also is, of course, related to faith, which is something I also keep coming back to. Like, how can you hold on to something that it's not there and it's not real, and yet in your mind it truly is, and it kind of informs the way that you think and act and all that stuff. And it's like, and I have a hard time dealing with that, understanding.
And what are some of the other subjects covered on Moment?
Well, it's basically like the overall theme was with Moment was that it's like what is it about the past that informs the future? Like what is it like the all the different paths you can take? Why do you choose that one? You know,
Mm.
why don't you see the rest of the possibilities and you just like, you know, with blindfolds on, like go down a certain path? Like what why does that happen? Like why at that moment do you choose or follow like a certain ideology, political leaning, faith, or whatever it might be, just like on a fundamental personal level. So it's one thing to think in the macro and just to kind of see things for what they are, but also in the micro, just how do we on a individual level deal with things, and that's I think what I find fascinating. Is one thing to scream at the TV, you know, when you see things on the news that you just like cannot reconcile with, but at the same time you have to look like how did that happen? Like really, like when did it all go wrong? That kind of thing, and that's like an overall theme that I been writing about, being angry about.
Yeah, I mean that's a really interesting way of looking at it, because in some ways, you know, when there's protest songs or songs about what's the word, contemporary subjects, it's almost just like pointing at something and going, look.
Yeah.
And you go, well, do something about it. No, look.
Yeah.
So in analyzing something like that, and like you say, going into the micro of it, is a really fascinating.
Yeah, but it's easier to deal with it that way, I think. You know, and for me, it makes no sense. Like I don't want to be too specific. I don't want to like deal with like a certain issue or something like that. But maybe if you read enough, maybe you'll see what I'm talking about. But I'm also purposely vague about it, and I want to focus on the actual like the back underlying themes. You know.
Yeah, well, I think that's the best way. You know, any art should have a certain vagueness about it. So, in order for it to mean something to the listener or whoever's looking at it or whatever, I mean, it's a little bit like, you know, just a minute ago there, I said what identical to none means to me.
Yeah,
I think I was on the right path, but it's still.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but there's a lot more to it than that. But so it's interesting, you know.
Yeah.
Once again, this was produced by Martin.
Yep.
Again, it helps to have, I would assume anyway, it helps to have someone within the band to help put the album together, because he knows exactly what you're going for and all that kind of thing.
And also, like, he just grown into that role. Like, it wasn't like that in the beginning. Like, all the over the years, like all of our roles have shifted around. You know, for the longest time, Martin Hendrickson was the guy who ran everything and kind of knew everything that's going on, like every single note, every single beat, everything. And now Martin is that guy, you know. And also he has to record and make sure that everything works in the studio and the way that everybody deals with it. So it's become more of a his kind of duty and job, you know, to do that, which is he does it so great, and it's really needed, you know, because sometimes you need someone to kind of hold things together, and Martin is great at that. So and also having access to his studio like always totally helps, where we can just demo stuff and try out things and just work on things endlessly if we like, you know. It's like 24 hours sometimes, just like go at it, just figuring stuff out, and then realizing we're back to square one. Doesn't matter. It's like no clock is ticking. We don't have any deadlines. It doesn't cost extra. Fine, we just go for it, you know.
I mean, especially this year.
Yeah, for sure. that did help.
Yeah, because obviously he also produced Atoma, and I think before that he'd mostly been engineering Dark Tranquillity albums, with the exception of a while back.
It's just like grown more and more into like, kind of like that role of producer, where it's but he also engineers everything, and just it's his studio, you know. He takes care of it.
I mean, obviously we can't see into the future or anything like that, but do you think in Martin now you have the definitive Dark Tranquillity producer?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like this is how we want to work. I mean, it would be interesting, briefly to try something new, but I think we're so comfortable and like, we want to do it ourselves. We've always done that. We've never really had a producer outside of the band ever. And we just learned to do it ourselves basically. And we just keep getting better at it, hopefully. Yeah.
Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me.
It's my pleasure, man. Great talking to you. Oh, varsågod. Cheers, man. Take it easy.
See you later, mate. Look after yourself. Yep.